Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the December meeting of the Rappahannock-Rapidan Regional Commission. If we could all stand to the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, they have a thought. Building's falling apart. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to figure out the agenda.
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Steve, do I have a second?
Okay.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public comment, do we have members of the public?
Be online.
No one in the building? Okay. Not seeing anyone for public comment, we'll move into presentations and special recognition. We all received the draft regional legislative program, including priorities and other positions from the region with some revisions from past years. Eldon James and Laura Bateman are with us to answer any questions on the program and to provide a preview of what to expect ahead of governor's budget release next week and general assembly session in 2026.
And before Eldon and Laura are both virtual, and thank them for being here. I want to make sure that that I share what was in your packet that came out in email last Thursday did not have the red line attachments. The packets on the red line changes. There's a couple one under community and economic development on page 4 of the program, and then some additional ones on page 5 under the data centers, energy supply and demand sections. I don't think any of the changes substantively change anything other than on the I call HB 2660 or SB 974 just adds in a sentence supporting lengthening the review cycle requirements for subdivision actions that are within state code 51A. But beyond that, the rest of the program is as was sent out last Thursday. And when I spoke with Eldon and Laura earlier this week, I said I think kind of hitting some of the high points in the program would be fine, but I said my guess would be that a lot of the individuals here at the commission meeting would be as interested in sort of forecasting what General Assembly might look like, or what sort of things to expect for the next couple months. So Eldon and Laura, all yours.
Great kickoff. I'm still looking for my crystal ball. But let's give it a shot. Laura and I are going to tag team this a little bit. I'll open it up. Wow, let's see, 2026 General Assembly session is upon us. It'll be the latest start it can get, January 14th, just because of the way the calendar falls relative to the Constitution. The long session, 60-day session, the budget session. This is the 164th session of the Virginia General Assembly. As everybody there knows, the Democrats hold majorities in both chambers, with the Democrat incoming Lieutenant Governor Ghazala Hashmi presiding over the Senate. We expect incoming Governor Spanberger to really be focused on affordability. You heard it during the campaign. You're still hearing it in the early speeches and meetings with groups such as the chamber. But how much can a governor or even a Virginia General Assembly do about affordability? They can have some impact on electric rates. They can have some impact on housing by investing in housing trust fund, those sorts of things. Broader than affordability, we're expecting debates on any other ways to lower costs, but also boosting wages. Environmental policy, the obvious Chesapeake Bay, the fast developing issue of PFAS, the re-entering into RGGI. You'll hear continued debates on education funding. With the strong budgets of the past many years, progress has been made helping localities with the cost of K through 12 education. It's going to be a little tougher this year. Healthcare, affordable housing, what to do about filling some of the gaps on things that Medicaid and SNAP benefits. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Laura and let her take a swipe at some more details.
Thanks, Eldon. And hello, everybody. I'm Laura Bateman, and happy to be with y'all today and to be working with you during this upcoming session. So the incoming governor has already made some announcements as to cabinet secretaries, and we just want to go over those very quickly. The Secretary of Agriculture and Forestry may be someone known to you all, Katie Frazier, who comes out of the agribusiness Farm Bureau community, very well regarded on both sides of the aisle, and a very popular pick, I would say. Yesterday, we learned that the Secretary of Transportation will be Nick Donahue, who was a member of the Department of Transportation, Virginia Department of Transportation leadership team under Governors Northam and McAuliffe. And Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security is a former head of the FBI's Richmond office, a fellow by the name of Stanley Metter. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Marvin Figueroa, who was a very known entity in the health and human resources field in Virginia, and I'm told in the DC arena. He was part of the McAuliffe and Northam administrations, I believe. And then late last night, we learned that Delegate Candace Munden King from the Prince William area, who's a member of the House of Delegates, was tapped to be the Secretary of the Commonwealth. So that'll open up another House of Delegates seat. I'm assuming that's got to be a safe Democratic seat, or they wouldn't have given her up. But so she's moving into the administration as Secretary of the Commonwealth. We await some other big cabinet secretary picks, like the Secretary of Education, Secretary of Commerce and Trade. I want to just briefly mention something that Eldon mentioned about the governor-elect and her election platform running on affordability. I did see I think it was in Politico this morning, where it's expected in the next week that she will come out with a very proactive legislative agenda dealing with housing affordability. I don't know what that's going to look like, but we are monitoring it. But that is just a testament to how important that issue is to her, and her knowing it's in large part responsible for the wide margin of victory that she pulled off. The Democrats, as Eldon said, control both the House, the Senate, and all three executive branches of government. What are their major issues and priority? Economic relief, congressional redistricting, a focus on the environment, reducing pollution, restoration, Chesapeake Bay restoration, climate resilience, education, strong focus on public school funding and supporting students, and of course, affordable housing, and a framework for localities to preserve affordable housing. I'm sure you've heard about the constitutional amendments that will be first up when the General Assembly convenes in January. There are three amendments that require a second year of vote by the General Assembly. One is an amendment relating to the right to reproductive freedom, another affirming the right of two adults to marry, and then voting rights to automatically restore the right to vote after an individual has been convicted of a felony. And of course, the redistricting amendment, which Eldon will talk about in just a minute. I'm turning it back over to you, Eldon.
Thanks. And the after someone's convicted of felony and have completed their sentences.
Oh, yes, right.
Lest we forget that detail.
That's an important point. Thank you.
Let's see. Let's talk about the well, let's do the redistricting real quickly, and then we're going to talk about budget. As you know, because of what started in Texas and then California, and then run through a list of states, Virginia Democratic leadership before the election decided they could figure out a way to amend the Constitution in time that they could redraw the districts before the General Assembly session. You know, this goes into as long as I've been around, learned stuff I had never had any reason to learn, and that's that a special election for by the voters to do that final step doesn't have to wait until November elections. We all grew up with constitutional amendments and we knew the regular order. Well, turns out, and Laura and I were reading it this morning, the Constitution says it just has to wait 90 days after the final action is taken on the second legislative step. So they held the special session of the General Assembly that's been hanging around since 2024, took action before the election. Election's taken place, so probably opening day of this session, you're going to see action to be taken on the redistricting. There was a lawsuit filed previously that was thrown out. I'm sure whatever happens in January, there will be at least another lawsuit, and so the courts will have to weigh in as well. But once they've taken final action, and it's just the action of the House and the Senate to pass it, the legislature determines the timing of that vote as long as it waits at least 90 days after that final action. Okay, so now more back to regular order. The governor will introduce his biennial budget next week. And then as is the proper process, once Governor-elect Spanberger is sworn in, she will be given an opportunity by the money committees to submit her budget amendments. She gets a little extra time, more than the members of the legislature, just because of the timing of that process overlain by the time in which she is sworn in and can produce those amendments. You can count on those things are being worked on right now. We participated in or monitored the both House Appropriations and Senate Finance and Appropriations retreats last month. And it's fair to say that the House and the Senate have very different revenue projections than the governor. The governor is much more bullish that things are going to be in a better posture than both the House and Senate are saying.
That's Governor Youngkin.
The current governor, I'm sorry. We're at that transition point. Thank you, Laura. The word coming from leadership in really more so the House and the Senate right now is, don't be talking about new money for anything. As a matter of fact, I was at a meeting last week, and after that meeting, had a member of the House Democratic Caucus used specific words that had been expressed by the chairman of appropriations, which had clearly come from the speaker. Don't ask for any new programming money. Now, having said that, those who prevailed in the elections ran on certain things. There are things that were talked about being done. So there are going to be some high priority items that will see some new funding put on the table. But by and large, if we're looking at a request for an increase in funding for some new initiative, unless it's one of those high priorities, I don't think there's much likelihood of that staying on the table. The Speaker of the House has also made it very clear that he wants to see the legislature govern in moderation. And he specifically referenced not having happened what happened when the Democrats took control in 2020, and they only held the majority in the House for the 2 years of that cycle. Now, will the Senate cooperate? Well, as one of my early mentors, a former member of the House of Delegates, Pete Geeson, used to remind me, there are two parties in the legislature, and that's the House and the Senate. And they're the ones that fight it out, and they fight it out just as hard as partisan politics. So the House is in one place. We're not quite sure where the Senate is on that issue, on that restraint issue. And as a matter of fact, there have been a bill introduced already on right to work and public sector collective bargaining, if I'm not mistaken, Laura, on the Senate side, not on the House side. And the governor-elect has said she's not particularly enamored with the repeal of right to work. So even though the Democrats have a trifecta, they're not all in the same place. Okay, so that kind of sets us up what the playing field is. At this point, Patrick, how much detail do you want to go into on the platform? I think you said it right. Everybody's pretty much familiar with it. You've seen the red lines. We're happy to talk through some of those things. Happy to answer questions on what we just talked about. And that was pretty safe crystal balling from our end. But I'm sure we could do some more conjecturing if you wish.
Anybody have any questions or?
Yes, given the press towards affordable housing, how's our land use perspective going to be received?
I guess that one falls to me since I get to do the land use stuff. There's good and bad in that. In talking with, well, all right, first of all, Laura talked about Candace Munden King moving from the House to the administration. We've had a good relationship with her as chairman of CCT. So I'm a little uneasy seeing her move out. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be a bad situation. It's just a new face in a new role. Well, not so much a new face, but someone in a new role. The Senate local government chair, Senator McPike, will be introducing several pieces of legislation that deal with affordable housing. He has told me and told several of us that he is reintroducing the legislation that the governor vetoed that would expand local government authority to establish affordable housing programs, giving all localities the authority under 2304, 15.2.2304, which is the mandatory, where you can set up mandatory programs rather than what 2305, which is voluntary. 2304 right now only applies to either 6 or 7 jurisdictions in the state. So he's said point blank to several of us, he's reintroducing it. It got to the governor's office 2 years in a row. The governor vetoed it. He will also be introducing legislation dealing with revisiting the faith and housing issue from previous couple of years. The bill that passed last year was fairly benign after a great deal of negotiation. This one is likely to go a little bit farther. He has been taking a lot of input. He, in my role with the Virginia chapter of the American Planning Association, he approached us and gave us the opportunity to offer quite extensive comments on the draft he was looking at. It has the potential to be a bill that I think is doable, is one that we can live with. There will be others that will be introduced that are a little more extreme. I'll just make this final general statement. We need to be looking at all of those, knowing that there's some things that are going to get passed, and are there some things that we can live with versus some things we can't, and may want to consider getting behind the one or ones that you can live with that are less bad, if you will. And that's just a general statement. Until we see the details, we'll all be talking about them. There will be a lot on the table on affordable housing, and some of it will be aimed at bad local government, which causes so much trouble with all their tough rezonings and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the usual. Okay, I think I've said enough on that.
Another question, sorry, Supervisor Boggs.
Yeah, Eldon, do you see any threat to local authority, whether it's in housing or solar siting or battery siting or, substation siting, any of those things? Or are we going to see threats?
Of course.
Local authority?
I mean, I could say that any General Assembly session, doesn't matter who's in charge. There's always going to be threats, and it's a matter of how we leverage them. I want to get Laura to talk about this in just a second, but this is one of the things where I'm sorry to see Candy Munden King go. I've spent a fair amount of time with her on the solar issue, and the draft bill that was put before the Commission on Electric Utility Regulation included it kind of flipped the switch. It's instead of saying you can't use special exceptions, it says you must use special exceptions, and then it gets very prescribed about what has to be in the special exception. I mean, almost ridiculously prescribed in detail. But then it says unless you choose to use the host siting agreement statute, and that statute gives local government broad authority to negotiate the deal. I mean, it's likened to just how to get to yes is the way I would describe it. Wearing my hat from the Rappahannock River Basin Commission, when we did that study on solar, we found that more projects had been successfully approved under those two statutes. Well, there are 4 sections of code that come under that host siting agreement. Than in just straight rezonings or special exceptions or conditional use permits. And I was able, that's in that bill because Candy Munden King serves on that commission, and she heard us last year when we said that has to be protected because that gives local government the greatest flexibility to negotiate solar siting projects that are the most beneficial to the locality. So that was a little bit of a success. Are there going to be bills introduced that are going to say you can't turn them down? I'm sure there will be. Whether those survive is a matter of what we all do. Laura, you probably want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean it's such a broad topic, but just by virtue of the fact that the governor-elect has strongly suggested that affordable housing, and particularly affordable housing, is a top 1 or 2 priority for her. I think that there's going to be efforts to erode local authority, to supersede local authority. You know, I don't remember the bill number, but the Eldon May, the Van Valkenburg bill on specific targets that every locality in the Commonwealth has to either meet or for housing units or otherwise explain away, is going to be back with a vengeance. And I can see that being that bill. I don't agree with it, and I think it's a one size fits all is not appropriate, but I can see that gaining traction just in the current climate, knowing that that is such a priority for her. So yeah, there are going to be efforts out there, but the mantra from every local government that we represent is do not erode local government authority and do
Now,
not try to impose a one size fits all. So we will be working very hard to continue that.
yeah, I'm going to put a footnote to what Laura just said. When we're talking to many of the legislators now, it's that second part of what she said more than the first part, because I've had legislators since the last sessions when you say we got to protect local land use. I don't want to hear that. Can't even finish the sentence. I don't want to hear that anymore. So the response is, okay, one size doesn't fit all. What works in Fairfax isn't necessarily going to work in Floyd. And that's the angle that I'm using now going forward.
Any movement on restricting water use for cooling along the Rappahannock River Basin or other watersheds?
Well, you just moved into the data center world, and there will be data center legislation just like last year. There will be pro-data center legislation, and there will be anti-data center legislation. And if you remember last year, all that stuff got killed except for the one thing that everybody could agree on, which was tell the State Corporation Commission to figure out how to protect residential customers from being charged for the increased cost. And I think that's the starting point, is that's the one thing that there is across the board agreement on. And party doesn't matter on this one. There are Democrats and Republicans who love data centers, and there are Democrats and Republicans who can't stand data centers. And so you're going to see this fought out quite a bit. And Ike, as you know, you hear recent pro data center presentations. They're talking about how all the newer data centers are closed loop water systems, and they don't use the degree of water that an older data center cooling system uses. That, those assertions are going to be held to the test. There are going to be people who say, okay, you got to prove that to us. So a lot more to come.
Leave you at it.
Sure, I have a question, or actually just really a comment. PD 10 added to land use on their priorities and growth management. I know we're PD 9, but I believe that would be a good priority as well. I mean, I'm one person here, but.
Well, and to follow up on that, Culpeper County has requested through our legislators and then through the legislation last year to codify time-based subdivision, because that is used in Madison, that's used in Culpeper and other areas. And that would not be anti-housing affordability, because what it would do would be reduce the pressure to downzone. So it'd actually be the opposite. It would allow things to stay orderly and facilitate more affordability than go in the other direction. So to the extent that there could be traction there, that would be very, very helpful. Probably Madison too, and anywhere, yeah.
Say a little bit more about the mechanics of how that would work, Sam.
Sure. So, and by the way, in terms of the draft on the Republican side, but meant to be neutral, Weber is the one that has the bill. And in terms of the way that it would work, in both Madison and Culpeper, and historically in Orange, in order to divide, there were certain acreage requirements, but then you could only create so many parcels in a residue based on time. So in the case of Madison, you can create 3 parcels and a residue every 10 years or 4 total. In the case of Culpeper, you can create 2 parcels and a residue every 5 years. And once that occurs, there can be further division, et cetera. It goes from there, but that is something that in this region has been a part of our zoning and subdivision ordinances for decades. And due to there have been challenges for various reasons, having the state codify that what we do and have done for decades is okay would help keep things in a good state and would probably be in favor of housing affordability rather than against it.
Mhm. Have you said there have been challenges? Has there been a challenge in your region of that has been
In Orange, there was a case in Orange back about 10 years ago where Orange lost at the district level. They did not take it to the Supreme Court. There was a challenge in Culpeper last year that was settled. Orange changed its ordinance to not include time-based subdivision. Culpeper still has it, and Madison still has it.
The risk that it can be taken on with that legislation is if it fails, then
I get it.
likely
Yeah, then we're in trouble.
the likely conclusion is you can't do it. Whereas you're in this gray area right now.
Well, the gray area, in terms of the gray area, it's become a lot less gray. And what I mean by that was Orange lost.
Because of Orange's case, yeah.
Well, and then the case that was brought in Culpeper.
That you all said.
In early areas, Orange was relied upon, and we were given indications that way. So we believe we're already taking that risk. It's not very gray right now. That's why we would like legislative help as opposed to because the alternative likely is not going to be just, okay, time's not there. The alternative, at least in Culpeper and in other areas, has been to look at things that are more restrictive. And if we discussed what Rappahannock's doing, we discussed what Fauquier's doing openly in meetings and proposed them. If we do that, that may be good for slowing growth. I don't know that that is consistent with housing affordability.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying what we want codified. If they understand in good detail the history, I think they'll see it really is something that would help relative to the objectives rather than harm.
Have you prepared some backup material for Michael Weber?
We have. And we've gotten that to him, and we also have.
We would love to see that.
Okay.
What I want to do is take that and run that by some of your former colleagues from other parts of the state, and get some reactions to see what's the best way to try to skin this cat.
Okay, there are other prominent members of both parties here that are likely willing to assist however they can too.
Good.
And if I can, I was not involved in Orange at the time
Right.
when this went down, but we are in the midst of a zoning rewrite and revision process, and we have not gone to right now we're back to 2 acres ag land, divide by 2 acres by right, and it's killing us. We are just getting, I mean, it is, if it keeps going, we will have to double our taxes without question. I mean, it's that bad for us. So we're looking at, again, with understanding that precedent, both time-based, but also sliding scale and some other things. So, but I know it's a big problem for us, and we have not solved it. And I don't believe the prior boards, since that decision, they just let it fly, and it's flown for too long cause it's now crashed down on us
Uh,
and we're in trouble.
I'm
Well,
aware that yeah, go ahead, Sal, sorry.
Go ahead, Ellen.
No, I was just gonna say to bring it back to the opening comment on this with um, Thomas Jefferson PDC and growth management. Well, growth management is about controlling the cost of growth, which is what, Brian, you're referring to.
Correct.
Anyone else? All right, I don't see any other folks that have questions for you. I really appreciate you and Laura being here with us today.
Well, thank you for letting us do it remotely. This is the time of year when every time you turn around, somebody's added another meeting, and that's what Laura and I've been doing all day is zooming to multiple legislative discussions. So
Appreciate what you do. Anything else?
Well, we're really happy to be working with you all again, and thank you all so much.
Thank you.
thanks.
I mean, to your question, Chair Donahue, I mean, would seek endorsement of the program as presented with the red line. The other thing I would say is as General Assembly starts to, once it gets kicked off in January, any updates that get sent to me from Laura and Eldon, I'm happy to forward that out to the entire commission. However, if anybody says not interested, you can just let me know and I'll create a separate list for all of you, just so you have that updated addition to the application.
Further to what Eldon was saying and relative to page 2 in our land use priority, should we overtly be talking about one size doesn't fit all rather than the same 2 sentences that Eldon's cut off on when he tries to talk to people? And I don't have any issue with inserting a reference to growth management or something like that, but should we turn it around a little bit? Certainly still reference that local decisions are best made locally.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we recognize there are vast differences across the state. And I don't know that we need to wordsmith it directly, but
I would support including both of those, the growth management and this notion of one size doesn't fit all. And I think our region vis-a-vis, Northern Virginia, maybe the Hampton Roads area, that's certainly applicable.
when even in our region, we see,
Well,
Culpeper Culpeper versus
Yeah,
Rappahannock, I mean,
exactly.
it's just very different.
Yes.
Or do we want to make those changes on under land use?
Do you get the general idea, Patrick, if we were to just bestow on you the authority to make it
Sure.
sound right?
Yeah, certainly on the one size fits all, that loud and clear on that one. To Commissioner Dawson's recommendation, I do have the TJPC program. Was there anything specific or just, I mean, it got it bolded and I'm happy to read that out.
Just that the growth management is left to the locality, that it's not coming down from the top that you have to do this. Like I said, the one size fits all is really puts it in perspective.
So it maybe changes the frame of reference a little bit to a connotation of, we don't want any growth. But if you say growth management, then it maybe connotes that, okay, we recognize growth is with us, but we just want to manage it.
So one of their bullet points says, we support the state providing additional tools to plan and manage growth as current land use authority often is inadequate to allow local governments to provide for balanced growth in ways that protect and improve quality of life. That's what you get at.
Yeah, that's fine.
I believe it came from Nelson.
I can check with David too, but yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Good.
You're good, okay. All right,
How about a move for approval with that amendment?
Is there a problem Mr. Underwood is doing that? Or
Technically, it would
I
be.
don't know if you're the actual named person or not.
I am the name substitute, but if y'all. go
If
ahead.
you are,
I am, that's
I'll
why I'm
second
here.
that.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes.
We have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Consent agenda, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull any of those 3? All right, I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Right, Patrick, Executive Director's report.
Give me a second to catch up here, sorry. No, you're absolutely good. I'm glad that was good discussion on legislative. I
What?
appreciate everybody. Pitching in. And the other thing I would say, I mean, Eldon and Laura and I talk fairly regularly, the county administrators, town managers, hear regular updates, but again, the message, now that the contract runs through this office is, anybody that has a question, either you can come directly to me, or if you want Eldon and Laura's contact, I feel comfortable, providing that to you, especially if it's a specific bill or something that comes up in the session. So, director's report, try to be brief here, but have a couple of updates. And pleased to share that we added a part-time program planning specialist at the beginning of the month. Tara Jones lives outside of Gordonsville and has previous experience with the Census Bureau, and so brings a needed skill set. So Tara's in 20 to 24 hours, mostly Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Mondays, but is working with Remington on some of the comprehensive plan work we're doing with Remington, and also supporting the housing summit, taking some of that off of my plate, which has selfishly been very helpful even in the first 2 weeks here. Other items, we're working through the local budget requests for all of you. If anything's changed for any of your towns, especially that have somewhat less formal processes than the counties, please let me know. But those will be completed by end of the year or based on the deadline that comes from each jurisdiction. Feel like a broken record on hazard mitigation, and what I did this time was share with you directly the email that came from VDEM Region 2 staff, who has been helpful to us in trying to work through the various issues they've run up against with FEMA in terms of the plan review. You can kind of see there what's included. That I think Region 2 staff with VDEM is as frustrated as we are that this plan was submitted up to them a year ago, and we have received very little. We had a call back, Michelle, I think August, where we finally had a call with VDEM Region 2 and FEMA to talk through any revisions they needed. We responded to those within, I want to say, 3 weeks, turned around the requests and the revisions. The shutdown did have an impact, but we're going on 12 months with a draft plan that has not been responded to, or not been given back to us as, yeah, go ahead and do your local adoption process, which is when we would come back out to all of your boards and councils for that approval. So again, his last line is Sean Peavy, who's the Region 2 planner, is the next time I hear from him, we'll be with the formal approval letter. We're still waiting, and that was, again, 2 weeks ago.
What are the internal standards that we're missing?
To be 100% honest with you, I'm not certain at this point what's missing, because we had the first plan review tool that we saw back in August. We addressed the various ones that they said, and a lot of them are document that this locality participated, or do a little bit more. I think on the high hazard dam issue.
Most of them were additional requirements from March. That was way after we actually submitted,
Right. With
that they held us to. They were minor changes, nothing really hugely substantive. But yes, the new ones are just seem to be coordination issues between VDEM and FEMA and staffing shortages.
Yeah, and so that reference there, and that Mr. Curry did have an internal standard they had. I will say, I think there's the other piece I would say, and I think VDEM has been supportive, but there's been a lot of VDEM has taken the plan and had these communications, and to be honest, we've at times been like, well, just add us to the call, because we're happy to jump on and listen. And so I think that's sort of the next step if we don't have a conditional approval letter here in the next month or so. But yeah, I will say the shutdown did impact that too. So the other piece is that, if you might recall, the hazard mitigation plan, we also had that as a resiliency plan through the Commonwealth Flood Preparedness Fund. That part, the resiliency plan, is approved by DCR. We haven't taken it for adoption, but that hasn't prevented local governments from submitting, or partners from submitting applications to the most current round of the CFPF process, which includes one that Lake of the Woods submitted on behalf or in partnership with Orange County. So we were involved with kind of putting the background together there. Michelle's here, so I'll give her the kudos. Michelle and John primarily worked with Friends of Rappahannock and Culpeper Soil and Water Conservation District with Orange County to inventory and recommend best management practice implementation projects. This is out of the Chesapeake Bay funding that we get annually from Department of Environmental Quality. And so I think what we've kind of been looking at times, we did the initial push, 4 or 5 years ago with some of the BMP ideas that localities had. I think, and I don't want to speak for Michelle, but she can disagree if she wants to. I think what we found with this process with the towns in Orange County, towns of Orange and Gordonsville and Orange County, kind of going through looking at municipal owned land, whether it's parks or other schools, other parcels that have control over to identify these projects was a good one. And I think we've had a lot of success with Culpeper and Fauquier, I would say, in terms of having some projects ready to go for various reasons. But I think we're going to try to replicate this in the other Madison and Rappahannock, and then potentially come back to Culpeper and Fauquier too as we move forward. $1 million. We just got an award of $1 million for.
Yes, they were awarded $1 million of pass-through funds from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. A grant through them to fund BMPs and stormwater non-ag BMPs was the way it was phrased in the Chesapeake Bay watershed in Virginia, to go to PDCs or watershed roundtables. And because we haven't received this funding previously through DEQ, we would stand a very high chance of getting the funding. There's no RFP or anything out yet, and so I don't know the time frame for that, but certainly, the projects through Orange, or if there's other projects that come up, just pass that along to your staff. That would be something that we could apply for on your behalf to do. It could range from stormwater BMPs, tree planting, septic programs, things of that nature. So
I have a bullet point for the housing summit. Again, date is Friday, March 27th. We've got morning keynote. So if you were at the annual meeting in Culpeper in 2023, Ryan Price with the Virginia Realtors is going to come back, and he's going to be one of the keynotes at the housing summit. A couple other invitations out. And again, probably after the turn of the year, save the date and other registration information to come on that. We did submit application to Virginia Housing for sponsorship, and we'll start to circulate other sponsorship materials too. Again, after January 1st. And then Chair Donahue asked about Virginia VA 250, and if you remember, probably 2+ years ago, the commission was asked to take on a role of coordinating with counties in the region and other partners on VA 250. And so that's the 250th anniversary of Declaration of Independence in 1776. So there's been a lot of activity building up to that date next year, the official 250th. And so I wanted to share a couple of things just real quick on the you've got website stuff. So the va250.org is the primary website for the statewide Virginia 250 Commission. They've got event listings, all their other programs, including the mobile museum, which has come out to our region, was in Culpeper back in August as part of History Week here in Culpeper. And in the region, Culpeper, and this is the town of Culpeper that has tourism staff, so they've got their own Culpeper 250 website, which also has events and things like that on it. What I'd say from a regional level with our work, really where we've done the most is supporting a couple of partners, a couple of nonprofit organizations in submitting grant applications, and so that includes the Afro-American Historical Association of Fauquier, which has put in a couple through Virginia Humanities, and that is their project is delivering the untold story of Fauquier's African-American population at America's founding. They also went back for a broader like GIS story map grant for Fauquier's landscape, people and properties during the American Revolution, which is sort of all encompassing. Also in Fauquier, the Fauquier History Museum. If you haven't been, so a lot of the work with VA 250 is these historical societies or historical museums, but they got a grant to do a Lafayette Legacy exhibit, and they have what is said to be a bottle of, some sort of alcoholic beverage that was part of Lafayette's visit through the region and 50 years after.
Sure that'll be good now.
1776. So they have a whole exhibit there that they've created. And then in Orange County, the county itself got a Virginia Tourism Corporation, and they've developed what they're calling Orange Uncovered, and it's related to Elijah Craig. So if you're a bourbon aficionado, Elijah Craig was born in Orange County. And so they've developed a website for celebrating that piece of it, which has limited tie-in to VA 250, but I think is more about the history side. And then Montpelier also asked for a letter of support and is doing a podcast on Virginia's founding footprint, people, places, and the promise of 1776. So that is something that I think is just getting underway, but will come out next year. I think Chair Donahue can provide her thoughts on this, but I think part of it is just making sure people are aware. There's a couple of exhibits that are ongoing. So again, at the Museum of Culpeper History, there's a Culpeper Minutemen exhibit that has been in place and will continue to be in place. And then the two that I just mentioned in Fauquier, as well as the James Madison Museum in Orange and the Carver Fort County Museum has some exhibits. The last thing I wanted to mention was the Culpeper History Week, which was back in August. Again, town tourism department was kind enough to share some of their numbers that they had, and so they did Culpeper Minutemen tours, and that was not just in Culpeper, but also went to Fauquier and to Orange, and so they had sold out those tours, which was actually just back towards the end of October. And then their Culpeper Minutemen Living History Muster in the Park had over 300 attendees that gave into the region. So Culpeper, I think, because of some of the Minutemen work, even though at the time Culpeper was larger than it is now, I think really had some things to capitalize on. But again, the website here has some of that information, and will continue I think this one will continue to be updated as the VA 250. So if there are events that any of you know of and they need help getting them on there, we can certainly do that. We've done that with a couple of the Fauquier organizations in the past. But that's what I had. I know you heard something at VACO from Cheryl Wilson, who's the chair or the executive director of VA 250. But that's some of the things we've been doing with it.
There's just great videos out there, and I think sharing with citizens in our counties what's going on around us. Since we don't really have anything in Rappahannock County, I just want to make sure people know it. Since we're not going to celebrate this anytime soon after next year, it would be good to make sure the people that want to go to the museum. I tried to get one to Rappahannock, and I don't know where that died, but it did. But just share with your constituents, and hopefully they can go to an event and appreciate what all the work that has gone into it.
And a lot of it too, a lot of the work that is, there are standalone events, but a lot of it's going to, perpetuate and be around after. So I think especially some of the grants is largely research based and will produce items that stay even beyond 2026, obviously.
They did some program where it was 2 lights, if I land to, if I see, and they had a particular day that they did it, and it was recognized internationally. And you can go on X and look it up, and people all over the world were putting lights out, and I'm just like, well, we could have done that, but I didn't even know it was coming. So good activities. Thank you for that. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're into old business. Standing item for the regional broadband project. I'm so excited that Rappahannock actually has something to report, but I'll let Gary do that because he knows more.
We're seeing activity. So that's good.
Awesome.
Thanks to Culpeper really, because they freed up capacity for us.
We did.
But they
And you got a new
Pretty-
CEO too at your
we
group.
do. We've asked him and Mr. Ennis to come visit us in January. They're pretty routinely having 8-9 crews every day in the county, plowing or direct boring conduit, pulling fiber starting today. So I'm hoping to keep that up. We've asked them to help us understand how that fits into the overall schedule of how it,
Good luck.
yeah. And so we'll see how they do with that task in January.
Well, from what I've heard, the new CEO was more schedule oriented and has a more a positive reputation from Florida where he's coming, so be good to see.
Yeah.
So you're saying All Points got a new CEO?
Yes.
Wow.
Jimmy is still the chair of the board, as I understand. Jimmy.
He's on the board as to board organization. They're working that through.
Okay,
He is the chief legislative liaison for obvious reasons.
yeah,
And, but no, it's the investors, those that control the preferred shares changed, management.
okay, well, it's good to know.
So, and the new CEO was, not selected by Jimmy.
Good. Anyone else?
Culpepper's working with Orange.
Yeah, that was
That's
exciting to see.
Yeah.
We're
We
excited.
tried, what, 6 years ago?
Yeah. You guys didn't want to leapfrog a couple counties to come to us.
Well, maybe we'll change our mind. We were probably at the time focused on our own. We have, we've reached over 6,000 active subscribers. So we're just about at a 50% take rate. We've got some more territory to cover. But one of the things, we only have a 20%. So if we have 50% in Lake of the Woods, we only have 20% take rate. And it's just because Comcast has been there for so long. And so we're beginning to see, and we've done zero advertising, we've done zero outreach. And I think we're gonna see Lake of the Woods get up to potentially 50% plus, which gives us, quite a bit more. And I suspect we have 4,000 serviceable homes in Lake of the Woods and only 780 have taken it. And I think once we sort of get some advertising going, some marketing.
And you've
change
laid
that.
fiber throughout the whole Lake
The
of the Woods?
entire Lake of the Woods
Wow.
is covered in fiber.
Are you a customer?
Being on the,
Hey,
so just to be clear, I am on the authority board, the Orange County Broadband Authority. So I did not take it right away because I didn't want someone saying, yeah, you did it for yourself. And so I waited a full-on year plus, and I just got it 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And I'm like, cut my bill in half or more than half by 75%. I haven't added back in, we're adding back in some streaming stuff, but it'll be half of Comcast. And once we get that word out, especially with some of the retired, fixed income families, I think we're gonna be in a really good place there. So we should get another 2,000 out of Lake of the Woods, if we really work it. And so it's good. We're grateful to be able to help Culpeper out. I think it'll help all of us
absolutely.
in the region here, and FiberLink is running very, very well. It's been a huge success.
They've been great to work with. They have project schedules and very much detail.
Transparency.
Transparency off.
Yes. And I will say, I'll give credit to Jim White and our outgoing
Yeah.
chairman, Mark Johnson. They set the stage. I've been supportive since I've been on the planning commission and now through my supervisor role. So we look for good things to happen and continue to happen in that regard.
Excellent, thank you. Patrick, first item under new business draft, FY 2025 agency audit, Patrick and Terry.
Yeah, Terry's virtual, if I really have a question that, or somebody has a question that I can't answer. Audit, and the thing I'll say on this is and sort of like last year, it continues to take longer and longer. I think a lot of you locally are probably seeing the same things with how long annual papers take, but the end result for us is again a positive report, no instances of non-compliance or other matters required to be reported or found by the auditor based on their tests of compliance that they conduct. Our net position has increased again, which some of which is due to the GASB 68 adjustments, which has been something that occurs annually. I think other areas are just based on the cash flow that we had at the end of the year, but also I think we're down to 4 years left on the note on the building, so that asset continues to increase in terms of the overall having the office space. And you can see there that the balance there was right, 4 years or a little bit less than 4 years, and that balance as of June 30th was a little bit over 1,000. So in terms of long-term debt, that's pretty much it for the commission. So positive report. Nothing that jumps out as needing of issues of concern. Really, where we use this audit the most is when we submit to state agencies or federal agencies in terms of giving them a document that shows, yes, we're an organization in good standing and have the appropriate controls in place. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. It would be helpful to have this approved today again, because technically I think the state code and auditor of public accounts says by November 30th. That's again pretty much impossible for those regional organizations, and some that have lasted into the new year, but that would be the request in front of you.
And wondering about the USDA loan, the 89,000. I, for some reason, have forgotten that we have a loan.
Yeah, just for the building space.
Okay.
And so that was 1999 was when they originated it. It's 4.75%. And it was originally 335.
Few years, we'll have to think about how we want to protect those dollars for future investment in the building when we're not paying the debt service.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I mean, again, knowing what some organizations in the region or other regional commissions pay in terms of rent space, the amount that we pay per year is pretty nice in comparison to a lot of those. And even with the executive committee talking about looking at other office space just based on capacity needs, or also, just the needs of the commission, it's expensive to rent commercial space in Culpeper or anywhere else in the region. So.
Thank you. There aren't any other questions. Anyone like to make a motion?
Move we approve the audit?
And do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next is a resolution requesting the Virginia Tourism Corporation designated regions. Patrick.
Yeah, so some of you may have seen this on local agendas. I'm not 100% sure. I think I'll hear maybe on Thursday or maybe tomorrow. If you haven't seen it, it probably will come your way. Virginia Tourism Corporation has recently been doing, over the past year plus, their kind of strategic plan, and that included a lot of work with their designated regions in terms of doing some surveys and focus groups and things like that. And one of the things that has bubbled up, not only through that process, but also through discussions that we've had with a lot of your tourism directors and other DMO partners, is the current regions, and I'll pull the map up here. So you can see the current regions, and so we're divided as we are in a lot of other state agency or other designations, but Rappahannock and Culpeper and Fauquier are grouped in with Northern Virginia, which has a nice carve out here for Eastern Orange County, but also that goes from all regular Northern Virginia, but all the way down to Caroline and Pennsylvania. Madison and Orange are grouped in with what they call Central Virginia, and that goes from basically Lynchburg to Petersburg, Richmond, and all the way up to Madison, Orange. And I just don't think, I think the feeling from a lot of our partners here in the region is that does not really, allow for the right marketing from a VTC perspective. And so the request kind of came up would it make more sense to designate a region that, in this case, looks like Go Virginia Region 9. And that, it was put in front of us because we do work with the regional tourism directors. They were here last Thursday talking about this and other items too. So that's what's in front of you. There is a resolution there, but it would really be asking and supporting that request to Virginia Tourism Corporation to designate Virginia's Piedmont as a VTC tourism region, and remove from the current, at least our 5 counties and plus TJPDC, PD10, their counties from their current alignment, and create this new one. My sense is that if BTC agrees to this, it would not be an immediate thing. It would probably take a couple of years for a lot of the stuff to work itself out in terms of their marketing. But the goal would be to just have a region that aligns better, can be marketed more closely based on assets that currently exist. So I'm happy to answer questions on that. If you have.
I'm gonna have to recuse myself. One, I'd completely support it, but my company does work for VTC, so, yeah.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, I would entertain a motion to adopt resolution requesting Virginia Tourism Corporation designate the localities within Go Virginia Region 9 as a VTC tourism region.
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second? Second, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Makes so much sense. Okay. Next is the application for an ag and forestry industries development planning grant.
Yes, we are looking to request not quite 35,000 from the VDACS, Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, APHID grant for purely Piedmont marketing. Again, this is our local food and locally grown food and beverage and agritourism brand. And basically a couple of years ago, we combined the locally grown food and beverage with our agritourism brand into one brand. And we want to assess that program with our members. It's a free program, but we do have members. And, make changes, tweaks, whatever to that program and run a large marketing campaign focused on things that reach a wide audience, such as billboards and digital ads, festivals, things that we get a large bang for our buck. You have to drive past a billboard. So let's see, roughly, there is a 1-to-1 match for this grant. It is a 2-year grant. And approximately 43,500 would go towards staff time to do a member survey and outreach to our members. Each summer we go out to the member sites and connect with them. So we got anything for that. And this dovetails nicely with funds that we got from UTC to focus on some member I guess kind of like creating a member ambassadors program. So yes, this is a joint program sort of like that we would be doing this, but yes. Questions?
Is this supported by current revenues that we contribute?
Yeah, one of the things we've tracked is our, time we spend on tourism work on Piedmont initiatives beyond the grants that we currently have, and so that wouldn't be something new revenues. It would be carved out of, and then the fact that it's a 2-year grant also allows us that flexibility of covering over a couple of different fiscal years. But yes.
All right, looking for a motion to authorize staff to submit the application to the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services and for the executive director to execute contractual documents upon successful award.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Now. The executive committee met last week. It was a good meeting. We developed a slate of officers and executive committee members for terms beginning March 1st, 2026. The slate as proposed, do you want to talk about?
Sure. I'll put the slate that we've confirmed so that we're not throwing anybody under the bus, and that hasn't said absolutely I'll do it. And then I'll let you all determine how you want to advance. So the chair would be Chair Donahue for a second term. Supervisor Broadus has agreed to serve as vice chair. Treasurer would remain Mr. Hively, and the one at large that we have right now would be Mr. Weekly from Madison County. And so I would leave that as the slate, and these terms wouldn't begin until March 1st, 2026. So there is time for anybody else that decides, oh, I absolutely to add my name to that list. So would be the opportunity, but that slate could be approved today, or you could hold it until, February meeting.
You all have a preference, I don't really, as to whether we vote today or wait till February.
Those individuals sound like they're very interested. I wouldn't want them to wait and wonder.
We got the fish on the line.
Yeah.
I would like to fit. All right, anyone would like to make a motion for this slate? The elected officers and executive committee for terms, actually, it's just the elected officers, right?
Well, you would have the one at large with Mr. Weaver.
I'd be happy to move approval of the slate as just read to us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Thank you for serving.
Thank you, Mr. Broadus, for coming along.
I was afraid this would happen. Happy to do it. Thank you.
Great. No closed session. It is now, yep, regional roundtable.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
timing, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I think so.
Town of Washington just had their 20th annual Christmas parade. We have hundreds of people there, had a wonderful event. We had one foxhound from one of the hunts got out and was running amok around town and making everybody laugh, but he eventually came back to the fold. Are proceeding with Rush River 2 development of a large community center for the county and the town. At this point, there is some discussion as to what the other building will be, but we received approval from the town council. Rush River 1, as you may remember, has some nonprofit offices and some affordable housing. And so we're adding additional office space for nonprofits and this community center in Rush River 2. So it'll be right at the intersection of 211 and Warren Avenue. I will extend or beg the indulgence of the group with a personal message. This is my last meeting with the RRRC, and I've enjoyed my time with this group. I have stepped down from the town council to take on a new challenge with our architectural review board. And by mandate, if one is on the ARB, they cannot be on town council. So I want to say that I have thoroughly enjoyed working with you, and I have to go now and pick up my grandkids. Thank you all.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Sounds right.
All right, town of Culpeper.
Told the elevator is working.
At least today.
Today. We built established a new parking lot. Couple 300 spaces. Of course, to get to it, you have to get across the tracks. So we have a pedestrian bridge. It's really nice. And of course, an elevator for those that can't make the stairs. Opened up in July 4th. And elevator didn't work that first day. So this is what, the 5th time now they've assured us that it's, yeah.
Frustrating, but at least you have.
Yeah.
We have 2 of them.
Oh.
I one on each side. One on each side.
You can get up, but you can't get back down, something like
Like Hotel California.
Superintendent Board.
Culpeper had a Christmas parade last weekend, well attended, everything went well. My daughter got too much candy there, but otherwise, very, very good. In terms of that, as we mentioned, we're working with Orange or FiberLink relative to broadband. Those discussions are going very, very well. Looking forward to a lot of progress next year. And regarding this group, we're very happy that David Lee's doing it, and hopefully he's doing a good job, and we're looking forward to him continuing next year, and as long as you all will have him.
Thank you.
Wait, what on that?
Madison is, Madison, and I'm on my way out as well. This is the end of my term. I've missed a lot of meetings. I've determined that I cannot run a business and be on the board of supervisors, so. But with that being said, thank you all. I've learned a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do.
I didn't realize actually getting out was an option or.
Like suicide, but.
Yeah, exactly. So many things going on in Fauquier. Our judicial center is moving along. We'll likely, approve, the next phase of design for that next, tomorrow, I think. That's probably depends on who you ask, $70 million to $100 million, 4 courthouses and all kinds of fun things. I won't bore you with the rest. That's all. That's the most exciting thing we have.
For you.
Oh, the board of supervisors' current location at 10 Hotel Street, we have received some bids from hoteliers to take that over.
Wow.
We're negotiating that deal and we may a month from now be able to announce what's happening there. But we do anticipate whatever the outcome, that in a year or two, it will be returned to be the Warren Green Hotel that it was 100 years ago, 200 years ago.
Exciting.
So it'd be fun to have a hotel in downtown Warrenton for the first time
Yeah.
in a long, long time.
The town can get all those lodging taxes.
Yes, sir.
You want to?
Oh. Sorry.
For the town of Madison, we had our parade last Friday night. Weather, kept a lot of people from coming, but it still was nice. We're working on, grant opportunities right now, and we are trying to finish up by the end of the year or the first of the year, rewriting our zoning ordinances and things for the town. That's it.
Thank you.
In addition to broadband, we have a $60 million Culper Middle School renovation project, which is well underway. Addition, a $40 million new elementary school that is, the earth is turning, I think, this week. We gotta work on a jail, we gotta work on a courthouse. We are steadily remodernizing our technology, which has been a big deal for me, at least past several months. Pool project is going well, thankfully, with the town there. We got a little bit of everything going on, so data centers, we got dirt turning there. We got data center construction, housing construction. Clevenger just slowed down a little bit. But we're busy, usual.
I'm glad we're not.
So we had our parade also on Saturday night, well attended, as always. We're still looking for a town manager. We're hoping to have everything wrapped up by January the 12th and have someone selected and move on from that. We also had a town council member resign last month, and last night we did not select anyone. It was a 2-2 vote. So January the 3rd, if we do not select anyone, it goes before the circuit court and they will select someone to fill that position. We were deadlocked 2-2 and we were not getting anywhere. So we left at 9 o'clock and closed session, and there it was. We have the water tank, storage tank. The tank has been replaced, the water tower, but we have a reservoir underneath of the tank that supplies water, during the night, or if an emergency situation, if something happened to the water plant, we would always have water in that reservoir to serve the community. Well, that reservoir has been drained for 4 months, and they got down in it and they've been working on it, and they found a lot more problems than we expected. It's kind of like, you replace the faucet on your sink and all of a sudden you're replacing the whole sink. Well, we don't know how much it's going to cost. They had to call in a structural engineer now. There's physically rebar showing in that reservoir. The last time anybody was in it was 25 years ago. So it's been sitting there for 25 years. The water has chlorine in it, of course. So it's eating away at everything. We don't know what it's going to cost to replace it. Do we actually need it? Yes, it'd be great, because if something did happen to the water plant, we don't have a storage to supply the citizens. But it's been offline for 4 months. So no one's noticed any water pressure or anything, because the water tank still gets filled up from the water treatment plant. But more to come on that. We physically do not know what it's going to cost to get that repaired. It's in bad shape right now. And then I do have a question for you. I was coming back from Gainesville, from a data center, of course. And I saw a van on the side of the road said Fauquier Litter Control. And there were like 6 or 7 people picking up trash. Who are these people and do you all fund it?
Those are people that might have done something wrong in their lives.
Oh, okay. Well, they had a nice van. I was like, man,
Yeah.
this may pay for a pack of van.
Yeah, those are our, what do we call them? They're not, we call them convicts. What do we call them? We call them trustees. Those are our trustees.
Okay.
And we have a full-time employee who manages taking them around to various spots.
Well, they weren't in jumpsuits or anything, so I didn't.
No,
think
they
were
were
Jay,
people.
we trust
No, they were-
that's why we
it
call
was-
them trustees. We trust them.
Okay, yeah, they were, I mean, they were doing a good job, so I was like, man, that's a pretty good idea, we need to, this money to fund this fund.
You can volunteer if you want.
I can tell you what it takes to get in.
But other than that, that's all we have going on.
Sticking with the theme of the Christmas parade, the committee raised $13,750 that was donated to wreaths across America. So this Saturday, wreaths will be placed at the National Cemetery. So if you want to participate in that, please come out to that. It's also interesting to watch how we do projects versus how VDOT does projects. VDOT completed the Route 3 McDrivet Drive roundabout, smart scale project. Opened it up to the public. The lighting isn't finished, so we've now had 2 citizens miss the traffic circle, which is all set, and drive through the grass, make their own path. So town staff has put up signage and stuff until VDOT can get the lighting operational between them and Dominion. But I think if it was a locally administered project, we would be in big trouble. But VDOT didn't seem to think it was a problem. So
Would cost a lot less too,
Yeah.
probably, if you did it.
Yeah.
we're not following their rules. It's not, so.
Just real quick, it's nice to hear about people building $180-70 million courthouses. We are trying to push a maybe $20 million one over the threshold, but it's an awful big bite for our board, and they're looking for ways to make it cost less. Sperryville's doing a new thing this year with a tree lighting this weekend, so if you're into tree lightings, come on out.
Yes, sir.
Great.
I can't recall if I mentioned this the last time we were together. Mountain Track Park is a regional park that we cut the ribbon on, and down there at Gordonsville, Western Orange. It has disc golf and trails, and we actually used some folks who could pick up litter. They were blazing trails for us, and it was very helpful. So that helped us out quite a bit. We last week opened up 14 new T hangars at the Orange County Airport. They are fully rented before we even opened it up, and we have a wait list.
You know what you charge for your T hangers?
I don't know offhand what we charge.
We're going through that. We lost some in a storm a couple years ago.
Okay,
And we're rebuilding right now, trying to figure out what the market is. But yeah, our waiting list is something like 50 or 75 folks
Yeah.
that would like a hanger.
yeah, we could build another 14 and probably have those full as well. So we've done a lot of modernization at the airport there, and it's come along quite well. So that was a nice ribbon cutting. FAA, state aviation were all part of it. So that was nice. And then aside from the Culpeper broadband work we're doing, we're pleased to be partnering, and I think that'll be a good relationship going forward. So appreciate that. FiberLink is strong and doing well. We are rewriting our zoning ordinance as well, and so we are, and so we identified it back at a retreat after I was elected, and a couple others were elected new to the board. So in January 24, we identified we need to do this. We approved that officially in May of 24. And since then, we have been working with the planning commission, both on research and on joint work sessions, on a tremendous amount of work sessions on both entities and then going back and forth. What we did is we bifurcated some of it out to get through. It's a long process. We had inconsistencies. We had
Took us 5 years.
yeah, we had a lot of things that really weren't were problematic, notwithstanding the, 2 acre by right. We also have and will not have very soon, by right for data centers and on industrial property. And that's going away. We are, in fact, I just, at VACO, I saw Supervisor Turner, who sort of said, all right, if you know where Loudoun's been, yeah, we're Data Center Alley or whatever you want to call it, whatever you call Loudoun County. He said, we made some really bad mistakes early on. They essentially treated data centers back when they started as office parks by right. And it's turned in, as we know, in many places for them, a pretty tough situation to deal with. So we, decided to put together a technology district. We are not identifying where that is going to go in Orange County. But we're saying if you want to build a data center in Orange County, you got to do 2 things. One, you have to comply with a technology district, and we're going through that process right now. We just received a unanimous approval from the Planning Commission that will go to a public hearing next Tuesday in front of the board. To approve that technology district. It's not an overlay. It's actually a district that has to be rezoned. And then in addition to that, we're adding a special use permit as part of it. So that allows the board, the Planning Commission and the board to be very active in where any particular data center might be sited in Orange County and how we might deal with those. We have taken the lessons learned from many other localities seriously. And I think we're gonna come out next Tuesday. We've got, obviously have to hear from the public, but with the Planning Commission recommendation, it was a solid effort on both sides, and we've been back and forth. We're also looking at rural residential as a district. We're looking at rural residential and rural services. And again, as potential districts that could be rezoned. And in particular, this will be helpful for us in Orange County to preserve some of the rural character that we have, and not just have, strip malls go up anywhere or housing developments, 100 driveways on major roads where they just subdivide into 2 acres. The big one will be the ag district that we're going to have to work on sometime this next year. And that will be whether we do the time-based or the sliding scale, or, there's a lot of misinformation out there, from those who like to take 100 acres and build 40 houses with the county just being left on the hook for it. And that's not a good scenario for us. We're hurting pretty bad on tax revenues. If y'all, and I'm sure y'all know this, but for every dollar of services that you give a home, a rooftop, you get 80 some cents back, depending on the area.
We just commissioned a study on that we're getting this month from Weldon Cooper with more detail. We'll be glad to share.
I would love to see that. And what we're seeing then in Loudoun and Prince William for a data center is a convert. For ag land, it's about 270. So ag land is very good for.
Doesn't take any services.
And exactly. And data centers in Prince William are, I think for every dollar, it's 13, and for Loudoun, for every dollar they get 26. So
Wow.
Those are pretty different scenarios. And so we're grappling with all of that, and I expect sometime next year we'll get through it.
Are you still working with the Berkeley group?
We are working with the Berkeley group. We've sort of. They helped us in the initial, they set up the process, they set up the new structure for us, so we're doing this technology district as a text amendment that will then go into ultimately into the new structure of a full zoning rewrite.
Okay.
So very, very important work, but it's taken some time and
Good luck with it. I'll put a plug in for the sliding scale. We stole ours from Rappahannock 50 years ago or something like that. Bob Lee came with it and it works wonders in preserving
appreciate
things that are not in the service districts.
Yeah, appreciate knowing that. And that's something we're gonna have to work through our community, work through everybody in the county to figure that out. So, thank you.
Thank you. The only thing,
Sorry.
yeah.
Your airport question, the website for Orange says with an office, $225 a month, without an office, $200 a month.
I think all of our people are gonna move there. That's a good deal.
We don't
That
have
also-
any space now. We've rented them all
That
out.
also references only 10 T hangers, so that part's not updated, but unless the fees have been changed. then that-
I suspect we may have raised the fees a little bit in conjunction with the new hangars and some modifications. Yeah.
It's okay. I got to participate in the shop with the deputy on Saturday and, it's always fun. If you haven't had a chance to do that, I would highly recommend it. I think it's harder for the adults that go along with the kids because the kids want things that they aren't necessarily supposed to get when you shop with a deputy. And, watching the angst in the adult who really wants to make that kid happy is, slightly entertaining, but, that was really great. And just remember the angel trees and everything else that's out there this time of year and support local, support local. Good. All right. Move for adjournment.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
See you.